Nova Terra is a highly trained and skilled ghost operative. An operative with a lot of deadly attributes. But after years of living in sin, she has found God, and she swore never to take a life again.
Praise the Lord!
Unfortunately, she found the Lord before her campaign started. Hi, I'm Amon, and I try beating the Nova Covert Ops campaign without killing anyone. That means I'm not allowed to kill a single unit or building in the entire campaign unless it's an objective and there is absolutely no way to avoid it. But just to put it in perspective, all but 3 unit kills in this entire damn campaign turned out to be completely avoidable. And yes, the Pacifist rules include a defense mission where I had to get rid of more than 1700 enemies without killing any of them. I played this challenge on normal difficulty because I don't see a way of this working on any higher difficulty. Oh, but don't you worry, there is going to be nothing normal about this run whatsoever.
You have something on your face. Got it.
And we start the challenge with a no-build mission, where the first thing the game asked me to do is to break somebody's neck. I see I have my work cut out for me. I tried running past the first section that wants me to kill the enemy detectors, but there were a bit too many enemies shooting at me, so I tried to let the first ghost detect me, and I took a couple of bullets to the chest. But thankfully my chest is really big, and they need a lot of bullets to take me out. So I entered the second section where everybody went after me. However, as soon as I entered stealth, all the detector ghosts were still out of position, so I managed to slip by to the second part. Here I acquired a rifle, and now the game wants me to use it to kill someone. Again. But still, I managed to run past him, and now that I'm detected, the second ghost down the hallway got pulled to me. So I managed to enter stealth again and run past him. After Nova accidentally shot someone without killing him, I saw that she actually has a hold fire button, so I will actually be able to use her during my missions without worrying about her accidentally killing someone. Which is great. Unfortunately, the section ahead of me featured a bunch of trigger-happy infantry, and all I could do is run past them. And after a few tries, I managed to run past them and I ended up with literally 1 health. Jeez Louise. Then I picked up a grenade that I'm never going to use, and I healed up a bit and I ran past to the next section. And now I have arrived at a flame splitter turret. They are supposed to be a hazard for me, but they are actually gonna be helping me. I baited a couple of marines towards me and their own flame turret killed them. Then I reached a health pickup and I ran past a group of enemies and I arrived to Mr. Pierce, who has yet to find the Lord and live a pacifist lifestyle. And since he was stealthed, he killed the marines that I brought to him and then the rest of the marines next to the detector turret. Then I moved north again and Pierce and the flame turret worked together to take out a group of marines, and then I arrived next to Delta. And the next group of enemies were killed by the 2 of them working together. There was also a huge group of enemies at the door, but the turrets and Pierce and Delta managed to take those down. Then I arrived at a huge group of enemies with 3 detectors. Unfortunately, there was nothing I could do but run past them. And I ran as quickly as I could to my last ghost friend, Stone. And I managed to stealth myself with 15 health remaining. Then my non-pacifist ghost friends killed all the remaining enemies. It's not called being a coward, it's called delegation, okay? And now for the actually difficult part. And yeah, turns out the first part of the level was the easy part. Now we have Stone and me riding on motorbikes. So I'm obviously gonna have to let Stone do the killing. Unfortunately, Mr. Stone does a lot less damage than me. So I actually have to soften up enemies that are coming after us before he can deliver the finishing blow. I swore not to kill again, but being violent is perfectly okay. Thankfully, throughout the section there are health pickups that restore both of our health, but those aren't nearly going to be enough. In the middle of this section, Banshees arrive, and the good thing about them is that they have just enough health to survive one of my snipes, which leaves them at 1 hit and Stone can then finish them off. But the reason why this section is so difficult isn't only because of the enemies, it's also because of Nova. She doesn't have a hold fire button here, so I constantly have to give her move commands to prevent her from attacking stuff. Oh, and I also have to make sure I don't crash her into one of the enemy vehicles, because if they die, she will get the kill credit. Oh, and of course, Nova has a lot more health than Stone, so I constantly had to tank for him. And I had to make sure I don't kill somebody or lose a bunch of health by crashing into one of the vehicles. And after many attempts,
2 hours later,
I managed to get to the last boss, who is a giant ship with a huge health pool, so I could snipe him as much as I wanted. His attacks are easy to dodge as well, and Mr. Stone isn't incompetent at dodging them, so this section was actually pretty easy. I left him with a little bit of health, and Stone managed to finish him off. And that was it. Mission 1 done, with 0 enemy units killed. The next mission is a defense mission, and at first you would probably think that this is going to be hell on earth. But what if I told you that this is actually going to be easier than you might think? For this mission, I unlocked a shotgun for Nova, which I'm never going to use, but I also unlocked a flashbang. And the flashbang will become my most used ability from now on because it doesn't kill units, it stuns them. Now, I start the mission with a tiny base and a big allied base I need to defend. And that allied base has 2 bunkers on each entrance, so I started building barracks around them. The first wave was easy to take down and my flashbang stunned the enemies so my ally can take them down. After a while I managed to get to a solid number of barracks defending the bunkers, and the enemy attack waves were actually pretty underwhelming at this point. In fact, my biggest problem was them focusing my barracks, because then they weren't in range of my allies' bunkers. So I had to relocate them a couple of times so they can actually be hit. The level spawned 2 bonus objectives in which I had to kill a Nidus worm spawning enemies on 2 science facilities. Unfortunately, even if I can take care of the defenders, I couldn't regularly kill the Niduses because they aren't specifically designated as bonus objectives. Like, technically I could kill them, but the gear for Nova that they spawn isn't really something that I'm gonna be using, so I think that's okay. The defense portion was doing well on the other hand. I built a bunch of barracks on the right side, and that even managed to confuse the enemies who wanted to attack because they didn't know where to go, so they actually started dancing. I also built a bunch more buildings to protect the high ground, which had a siege tank on it, and then the enemies started spawning ultralisks, but I managed to snipe them without killing them, so my allies managed to finish them off. At one point a brutalist came which took a few more snipes to damage, but he was also taken down by my allies. And soon enough the level ended, and my allies managed to take down every single enemy on their own. Turns out they actually never really needed my help to defend them after all.
a dirty, rotten traitor.
This mission needs us to put units into buildings to defend the streets. Nova wants to clear them so she can show her deadly attributes to more people. Take her to the streets is taking a whole different meaning right now. Now, the twist here is that my units that enter the buildings actually switch teams because they got fed up with being pacifist. May the Lord forgive them. However, this is actually a really good thing for me because none of their kills are going to count as my kills. Now, the building entrances are covered in Zerg slime, so there is no other way to proceed than to kill it. But these count as buildings, not units, so that makes me feel a bit safer. First, I sent Nova to take care of the nearby 2 entrances. In the meantime, I tasked my workers to make barricades at my base entrances. I soon sent a group of Marines to the first building, and I've sent Nova with them to tank some shots. I also had to make sure none of them kill anyone during transit. In the meantime, I started producing Reapers who need to go to the other building. And while they were training, I brought Nova to the remaining lane to take care of the entrance so my group of Reapers can easily enter inside when prompted. Unfortunately, I was a bit slow with garrisoning the last building, so the enemy built up quite the force on the right bridge. I had a bunch of SCVs out repairing them though, so I didn't think too much about it. Instead, I brought the 6 Reapers to the right building, and they will take care of most enemies approaching from that side. But the more time elapsed, the stronger the guys on the bridge became, up to the point of them overwhelming my repairing SCVs. So I restarted the level, but this time I knew what to do and in which order I wanted to do them. First I brought my Marines into the first building and I immediately started producing Reapers. The first group of Reapers finished up right when the enemies started attacking the right side. Thankfully, you don't have to garrison all the units at the same time, so I only told my first 2 Reapers to enter the building. Then my second group of Reapers baited the Zerglings that were attacking me to the building, and they were promptly executed by my Reapers. I mean the Traitors Reapers. And then I brought all the remaining Reapers into the building, and that whole street was safe for a while. The building on the north also needed 6 Reapers inside, so I quickly brought them down a cliff into the building. 2 more to go. There was a building to the left which spawns a bunch of Niduses when I get too close to it. But I still needed to destroy the entrance before I can bring my units inside. So I came up with an idea. I lifted my factory and I revealed the entrance from the other side. So I actually managed to reach and kill it from the other side with Nova. The bad part is that the building requires 3 Marauders, my slowest units. I brought a group of them with me. I used Nova to tank a few shots, but I'm too slow to garrison them inside. After a few attempts, I realized the true reason why I'm this slow, and it's not the Niduses blocking my path. There is a queen that throws a ball of goo at me, which slows me down. So I used a flashbang to stun it before it uses it, and I managed to do it. In fact, I was so quick that I had to make sure my 2 remaining Marauders die without killing anyone. Then I walked up to the bonus objective, which gives me a new gear part, and I went for the last building entrance, which I managed to snipe from the top. In the meantime, I was making a bunch of Marines, and I soon sent them after the last building. Turns out, the resistance they encountered was minimal. In fact, this was so easy that my biggest concern was making sure none of my surviving units kill any of the enemies. But we are not done yet. There is also a second no-build section with Nova. Thankfully, this one isn't nearly as difficult as the first level. In fact, this section was quite easy. I used a flashbang to stun the enemy detectors, and I easily got to the end of the level where I encountered little to no resistance. I'm definitely not used to playing this section on normal difficulty. But that was it. Only the godless Traitors have been getting kills on this level. I got nothing.
Now that's an ass whooping.
The next mission starts with me and a couple of Banshees getting 3 minutes to destroy as much of the Zerg presence here as possible. Which means I had 3 minutes to go on a toilet break. Okay, so where were we? Ah yes, it's time for the real level to start. The goal of the level is to destroy 4 enemy shield projectors and the mothership that spawns after that. Since I failed to clear any of the Zerg hatcheries, I had to deal with pretty big Zerg attack waves on this mission. Thankfully, the Zerg and Protoss don't really like each other, so I managed to bait the first attack wave to attack the Protoss base instead. I also built a bunch of E-base at my base entrance with SCVs ready to repair them. Then I went to attack the first shield projector. There are a couple of cannons next to it for detection, but God bless my flashbang that can target buildings and take out their detection as well. And the duration of the stun is just as long as the flashbang cooldown, so I can basically keep on stunning the enemy detectors forever. After the first shield projector was destroyed, and yes, that is allowed since it's an objective, the Protoss spawn an attack wave to go after my base. And combine that with an attack wave that the Zerg sends as well, and I'm soon gonna run out of money to repair stuff. So I needed to get rid of the Protoss attack wave before it strikes. Well, if I can bait the Zerg into the Protoss, maybe I can bait the Protoss into the Zerg. I got a couple of Reapers and I baited the attack waves towards each other. The winners of that clash were 2 scouts, who I can out-repair without any problems. In the back of this, I made a bunch more Banshees, and we started going to the second shield projector. I know what you might be thinking. Why am I attacking the projector when it's possible to send the Zerg into the enemy base? While it is possible, the Zerg don't send nearly enough stuff for them to be able to take down a single shield projector, let alone 4 of them. The second one was just as easy as the first one, so it quickly fell. Then the Protoss sent another attack wave at me, and I baited a Zerg attack wave to fight that one. Unfortunately, the Protoss had a Void Ray, and it started attacking my defenses. But turns out they really don't do as much damage as I thought, and I actually managed to out-repair it. In the back of this, I went with Nova to the bonus objective which I have to destroy. Despite this being an objective which I am allowed to destroy, I don't feel too comfortable destroying bonus objectives since they can be avoided. That being said, this one I had to destroy since it gives me access to the Apollo infantry suit. The problem with my suits is that I have one that permanently cloaks me, which means I can't use Nova to bait enemies. And I have one that doesn't have cloak at all, so I can't use Nova for attacking objectives. The Apollo suit, on the other hand, has a stealth ability which I can click on, which is going to be huge for the next couple of missions. I don't feel too comfortable with this, but this is going to be the first and last bonus objective that I'll do that involves destroying something. After gathering a bunch more Banshees, I used them and Nova to attack the third shield projector. Unfortunately, the last two objectives have multiple cannons next to each other, which means their detections overlap, which means I couldn't really do anything here but flashbang the enemy units and hope for the best. We managed to destroy the projector, which means a huge attack wave will be sent after my base, and I am barely handling the one void ray that's attacking me already, so I sent my remaining Banshees to rush the last objective, and that one has a huge base with a couple of carriers defending it. Needless to say, I got crushed. After a few attempts, I got a bit creative with my attacking angle, and I found a good one where I just barely managed to destroy the last objective. And now I have to destroy the enemy mothership itself. However, the I part in that sentence is quite optional. I made a great evacuation of my base and I sent my buildings far, far away, to the allied base to the north. I damaged the mothership with Nova snipes just enough to not kill it, and it started following my buildings to the north. To the north that has a huge base full of anti-air stuff. Needless to say, the mothership was crushed in seconds. And that was it. Turns out you don't even have to kill the mothership here. I only destroyed 5 buildings.
Please, kill me.
There's always that one mission that makes your life a complete nightmare in challenges like this. And here it's even appropriately named Night Terrors. I decided to give my new suit a try, so I'm gonna be able to use Nova for both baiting enemies and offensive actions. The level needs me to capture 5 Terrazine canisters while making sure the enemy doesn't destroy 5 canisters. Now where have I heard that before?
Bold move, Mr. Reyna.
The problem with this level is that it's filled with infested. And since I can't kill them at all, even moving through the map is going to be a huge problem. The first thing I did was move to the middle of the map with Nova and a couple of SCVs, where I found a small expansion. After humanely dispatching the units I got with the expansion so they don't accidentally kill someone, I made a couple of engineering bays to block off the bottom entrance, and I placed a couple of SCVs there because 3 infested spawn regularly there to attack my new base. Talking about new base, I started making a command center and I started barricading my own base entrance with a couple of buildings. And the reason for that is because the enemy soon starts attacking my main base, so I placed a couple of SCVs to repair my base entrance as well.
Please, kill me.
Nope, sorry bro, no killing allowed. You will suffer forever. On the back of this, I've been making Ravens, who in Nova Covert Ops have their super powerful point defense drones replaced with a healing drone. However, they are going to be the only source of healing I have in this campaign. And they also can't attack, so I can bring them together with Nova and I can be sure they're not going to kill anyone. And soon the enemy Tal'Darim player started sending a wave of units to take down one of the altars. The problem here is that, much to my surprise, the Tal'Darim are actually allies with some of the infested. So their attack wave will only take down a few of their structures and units and let the others be. And that's only the first on a huge list of problems. I managed to use my starting liberators to bait the first attack wave to the north, where the enemy has a spore crawler, and I used my trusty flashbang to keep on stunning the enemy flyers so they don't kill it. And once all anti-ground units were killed, the Phoenixes and Warp Prism started going to the objective to take it down, so I disabled them as well while the spore crawler kept attacking them. As I said before, the flashbang has its cooldown equal to its duration, so you can effectively perma-stun enemies with it. Then I went to the South Terrazine altar and I had to defend the altar for 2 minutes until it is harvested. The enemy sent a bunch of infested after me, but my flashbang managed to stunlock them. And the enemies don't really have a lot of space to get closer because I haven't killed any of them. So I managed to do this one with ease. And that made me quite optimistic about the level. I was so young and foolish back then. Next, a huge wave of enemies started attacking from the north of my forward base. So I had to close that one off as well, and place SCVs to prevent it from dying. My plan for this mission was to take the altars closer to me while allowing the enemies to close off the ones further away from me. For example, 2 of the bases in the north have infested siege tanks, which would make the defensive segment impossible if the enemy would be shooting at me all the time. Conversely, there's also a base with infested banshees and mutalisks that would make my life miserable as well. Soon I harvested the altar to the left of my base. That one was pretty easy with some flashbang stunlocks and raven heals. I was quite confident that despite strong attack waves attacking me literally all the time, I would still be able to do the altars without too many problems. However, it all started going downhill from here. Another enemy attack wave started attacking the left of my main base, so now I have 4 sides being attacked and a bunch of SCVs draining my resources to keep those alive, so I was barely making any money at all. At one point, a Tal'Darim attack wave came to attack me, and I was kind of afraid of them, but turns out they sent a couple of war prisms who sent zealots at me, and those zealots attacked my main base attackers. And since there's fewer of them than the previous attackers, I will be able to spend less money on repairs. So I wanted them to get rid of the enemies attacking me on my left side as well, but for some reason they were allied with those infested as well. So they started pounding my base entrance together. Zerg and Protoss working together. Such a perfectly lore-accurate description. But that gave me an idea. I did the same thing with the guys attacking the north of my base by baiting them to attack one of the altar ceiling waves, and that worked like a charm, so it's less money being spent on defending once more. That being said, the enemy managed to seal one of the altars closer to me, so I had to go north to the one altar that isn't haunted by siege tanks or banshees. And this is where things started getting hairy. You see, the waves of infested start getting stronger with each new altar. And now they not only send a bunch more infested, they also send aberrations. And these guys can walk over units, so they won't care about the bunch of infested in front of them. Plus they are immune to my flashbang, so there is nothing I can do about them than let them hit Nova or my units, or let them hit the objective, which they are going to kill in no time. I sent 2 full command centers of SCVs and I dropped them next to the altar, but it wasn't enough. The aberrations just mow through everything. And I don't have enough money to make more units to tank things. And since almost all the altars are surrounded by creep, and I can't kill creep tumors, I can't even make buildings in front of the altars so SCVs can out-repair any damage aberrations do. And don't think I haven't tried anything and everything. I had several attempts on this level, but the attack waves keep getting stronger and stronger, and I just physically can't do anything about them. I spent more than 5 hours on this level before resorting to the most desperate measures of them all, turning the difficulty to casual. I am sorry, but it was either this or skipping this level entirely. Casual difficulty lets you do more damage to enemies, which won't be of much help, but it also lets you take 50% less damage from enemies, and that's before armor is applied, which will be huge. This allowed me to tank more damage from enemies, and the buildings I repair also take less damage, so I spend a lot less resources on repairing them. The beginning was the same as my previous best attempt. I made an expansion in the middle, I intercepted a Tal'Darim attack wave into the enemy's pork crawler, I took the altar to the right without too many issues, and then I took out the altar south of it, also without too many issues, and all the while I defended from attacking zombies. I had a bunch of money now, so the strategy was working. I got a few guys using my dropping command centers to make a few engineering bases on the left altar, and then I proceeded to out-repair the enemy infested attacking me, and also flashbanging everything that is not an aberration. After barely doing this one, the last part was actually pretty easy. I built a few engineering bases on the south altar, and the enemy couldn't go through at all. But suddenly my minerals started depleting, and I lost all my repair cash. I was mined out. The enemy broke through, but I barely managed to defend that one as well. And the last one was in the middle of my forward base, So I just gathered all my units, I put them next to the Terrazine altar, the enemy targeted those, and I was able to win it. Just judging by the fact that I barely managed to win this one with no cash in the bank, shows that there is no way I could have done this on normal where the enemy does 50% more damage. So I guess playing on casual is the only way I could have done this. And now let's get back to our regular suffering on normal difficulty. If you've ever played this mission, you would probably believe that it's full of forced kills. But turns out this is not the case. I started moving Nova to the north where she killed a spine crawler. To proceed to the next section, you have to eliminate the Zerg at the entrance. But eliminate doesn't mean kill it. If I bait the Zerg towards me and then stun them, I will be able to reach the circle and proceed to the next section. That being said, the spine crawler can't move, so I had to kill it. It doesn't really matter what enemies I chose for the next section, I will be skipping them all. But I moved with Nova to the next section, where I again destroyed the spine crawler next to the section entrance. And I again baited the Zerg next to the entrance, and I again snuck past them to proceed to the next part. On the back of this, I started building Banshees, and a lot of engineering base on the right to protect my base from attacks. I used the Banshee to destroy another spine crawler to the right, and then I proceeded with the same bait tactics to move the defenders away, and I proceeded to the next section. Here it was important what enemies I pick, because if I don't pick Mutalisks, I would have to destroy 2 buildings to proceed to the next section. But the spires in this section are thin, so they don't cover the entrance to the next section, and I only had to destroy another spine crawler. Then I did the classic baiting tactics and I managed to unlock the last section. After unlocking this section, I was given the final objective of this mission, to get Nova onto this last objective and clearing the units next to it. Let me repeat this, I had to clear all this in order to win. At the back of this, I made 5 Banshees, and I proceeded to the end of the level. Turns out, you don't really need to destroy all buildings next to the circle, I need to destroy the closest 5 buildings next to it. So I used my Banshees to take those down from behind.
They came from behind!
In the meantime, I floated the barracks to the middle of the map, and I started making Reapers. You'll later see what they will be used for. Through the level, a couple of waves kept attacking my base, and at some point I didn't have enough money to keep up repairing, so my base was done for. But I did manage to float my buildings to the middle of this lake here, so I don't get eliminated. In the meantime, I collected the plasma gun bonus objective, which I am never going to use, and it was time to somehow finish this level. So, you saw how I baited enemies away from the circles 3 times so far. So why don't we try to do that again, but on a grander scale? Turns out, when attacking a hatchery in the last section, this will aggro all the enemies in that section towards the source. And turns out Nova can stealth herself to proceed to the circle without being detected. This is where the Reapers come into play. I used them to YOLO to the hatchery to bait the defenders, but there was a problem. The 2 overseers that constantly patrol the area. They will not stop patrolling for anything, so I'm afraid they will be my only 2 forced kills on this level. However, after killing them, there is still a slight problem. One of the queens is too close to the circle, and if I hit it, it will move further away. But when the Reapers arrive, it will use its pile ability and move back to the circle range. And this is a default behavior, so there is nothing I can do. Unless I use something other than a Reaper. My only other alive unit was a Raven, and turns out the Raven is going to be enough. I smuggled it to the section close to the base center, and turns out I can put a turret there and it will work exactly as a Reaper wave. So the chain of events that end the level is me cloaking and entering the base, making sure I'm not detected. I sniped the 2 overseers that patrol the area, and then I put down the Raven's turret, and I hit the queen that was close to the last circle. And that was actually it. I'm quite surprised at how few units and buildings I actually had to kill to beat this level. A level that is packed with enemies around literally every single objective. So despite a few forced kills here, I actually felt pretty good about this one.
Stone cold killer.
A whole 7 missions into this run, I finally got my first and only free win. This is a no build mission where I can get as creative as I want to get to the end of the level. In the sewer section, I decided for a speedrun strategy where I used my jump jet and my stimpack item, and those literally propelled me to the end of this section without any issues. For the upper section, I had to be a bit more sneaky, so I changed my suit for my Apollo suit, and I borrowed another suit from the enemy, which is the phase reactor suit, which allows me to stay stealthed for 10 seconds if I use my jump ability, which has an 8-second cooldown, so I can stay invisible for as long as I want to, which is perfect. Then I used my suit to open the first door, and I got to the other side of the map to collect an upgrade and a hidden gunblade, which I am never going to use. But hell, it's really cool. And then I opened the last door. All these sections were actually quite easy with all the tools I have available as Nova. At the end of the level, there was a boss fight with Mr. Stone, the Stone Cold Killer. But I am better than him, so I didn't kill him. I just knocked him out. So I didn't get a single kill credit at the end of the mission. And that was it. I played this mission for literally 10 minutes, and I actually enjoyed not suffering for a change. But now we can proceed with our regular suffering.
Call in another Gorgon.
That being said, our suffering here isn't going to be as horrible as you might initially think. The objective of this level is to eliminate over 1700 units, so I'm sure you might be a bit skeptical at first, but turns out my allies here are quite competent. First, I went scouting with Nova to collect some mineral crates, and I quickly built 2 command centers, so I'm soon gonna be floating in minerals. The enemy first sends a bunch of zealots and stalkers, but the fun thing here is that both a zealot and a stalker can take one of Nova's snipes to the face, which will leave them severely wounded and finishable by my non-pacifist allies. I spent the first couple of minutes just building a bunch of engineering base around the whole map, and especially around my allied bunkers, so the enemy has as little surface area as possible to destroy them. If you're wondering why I'm building engineering base all the time, it's because they are the most mineral efficient building to repair, which means I will spend the least amount of minerals repairing them. And with all the minerals I'm gonna be floating through the level, I will also be able to repair almost all damage they do to my buildings. The enemy soon started sending immortals down the middle, but those also don't die to my snipes, so they also got severely wounded by Nova. The enemy soon sent a wave of void rays to the left, and this is where things get a bit hairy. They have too much range for my allies, so they can't kill them that quickly. Thankfully, I just unlocked a Gorgon ability, where I'm able to send a freaking Gorgon onto each lane.
Call in another Gorgon.
And the best thing is that they are also on a different non-pacifist team, so their kills won't be concerning me. For the next few minutes, there wasn't much else happening. But then the enemies sent a wave of Wrath Walkers to the northwest. They have a similar advantage like Void Rays. They have huge range, which outranges most of my allies. So now I had to introduce an addition to my pacifist rules, which is mind control. I'm allowed to mind control enemies, and if they're killed by their allies, that's fine, as long as the mind control enemy doesn't kill anyone. I think that's reasonable and pacifist enough. Then I sent a wave of Gorgons to clear the lanes again, but unfortunately, just as they were exiting the map, a huge Wraith Walker wave appeared on the southeast, and there was just too much stuff to defend from. So I had to abandon them and wait a couple of minutes for a Gorgon to come. Then a mothership appeared in the middle, but I had a Gorgon spawned already, and I just softened it up with a couple of snipes, and she was soon out of commission. Since my right side was completely gone, the enemy reached my allied base, and they started attacking it, and they eventually managed to bust through it. But thankfully, I managed to call down another Gorgon to take it down. And I did the same with the last mothership appearing in the middle. And that was it. 1700 people dead, and none of them were killed by me.
The Yamato is loaded, and so am I.
This is the last mission, and turns out I'm gonna end this challenge with a bang. Literally. You'll see in a bit. I started this level with an expansion, and I quickly took it because I want to start making battle cruisers ASAP. Before starting the level, I gave Nova her Apollo suit again, because it will allow me to cast snipe a lot more times. And trust me, I'm gonna need it. I built a wall of engineering base at my expansion because the initial attack wave comes quite quickly. But this isn't going to be a slog defense mission. The map has 5 Gorgon ships I need to defend. And those ships are defended by a couple of bunkers and units. And turns out, these do not belong to me. So, you know what that means. I baited the attackers away from my base to meet their end at the hand of my allies. They are incredibly aggressive on this level, so baiting them to follow Nova was pretty easy. And then the real objective of the mission appeared. The Xantos, a huge mech with a flamethrower and a railgun who wants to blow up the Gorgon ships. And this is where Nova's snipes come into play. They can deal huge damage to the Xantos parts. I only had to make sure I don't destroy any of them. I left them with low health, and the Gorgon defenders took them down. The Xantos then returned back home. Then, for some reason, the Hyperion arrived on the right side, and I helped it out a bit by doing as much damage on the enemies without killing them. The Hyperion leaves on its own after a while, but thankfully I have the Xantos again to keep me company. And now he has a new upgrade, an airship hangar. Thankfully Nova's snipes and a couple of battlecruisers were enough to soften him up, while the defenders took down the parts. Next, the Hyperion arrived on the left side of the map, and I wanted to help him a bit, so I started attacking enemy buildings without killing them. Now, enemy buildings burn down on their own after a while, but none of my units will get the kill credit if the buildings burn down, so I won't count that as a kill, despite them showing up as buildings destroyed on the score screen. But it's not my fault Terrans can make proper buildings, and they burn down if they take 2/3 of their health down. My conscience is clear here. These building kills are on Terran builders and engineers. Don't get riled up over this though. Despite what I initially thought, turns out those building kills are completely unnecessary in the grand scale of things. The Hyperion pushed into the left base a bit, and soon an attack wave started going after my base. This one has a ghost within it, and the ghost can nuke my base. However, a flashbang strike can prevent his nuke strike. Then I told them to follow Nova, I softened them up a bit, and I took them to my allied defenders for a swift execution. Soon after, the Xantos came for a third attack, and this time it also has missiles I have to dodge. I told my battlecruisers to jump away when their health was low, and when they all got away, I used Nova's snipe to take down as much of the guy's health as I can without killing him, while the nearby defenders started attacking him. After taking down the parts, it went back. The actual goal of the mission is to destroy the Xantos' weak point, but it can initially only be damaged at its base. And this is where the destroying buildings part was coming into play. I thought damaging the weak point while it was in the base will count as a kill, so I thought the Hyperion would only be able to damage it, and I wanted to kill all enemy production structures by burning them down. Thankfully none of that mattered, because I used a tactical jump with a couple of BCs to check out if I actually get a kill for targeting the weak point, and turns out the answer is no. I attacked the weak point, I used the instant victory cheat, and I had no kills. That means I didn't have to rely on the Hyperion at all. I brought all my units to the middle of the map, and this is where a showdown with the Xantos started, who now has a death ray and who drops reinforcements. Despite my battlecruisers and Nova attacking the weak point, we actually did very little damage to it. But step by step, bit by bit, and snipe by snipe, we were chipping it down. Unfortunately, my battlecruisers died, but Nova could snipe the weak point from a safe distance. When it got down to literally one hit left, I only had to bait it to one of the defenders for a swift execution. But that was easier said than done. That guy moved so slowly, and my base was being pounded by the reinforcements it summoned. So I floated my command center to the edge of the map in order to not get eliminated. And soon enough, I managed to bait the Xantos south, and a couple of marines managed to take it down. But this is not the end yet. Nova climbed into the Xantos to see who's inside, and inside was this old lady. Now my final objective in this entire campaign is to kill this old lady, whoever she is. And since there are no allies around, I thought I would actually have to do it. But wait, what is this? A command center? How did that one get here? Well, turns out, my buildings at the edge of the map don't really disappear in this last section. They are just unreachable. Or they would be, but I had my command center bound to my second control group, so I was able to summon it for this last encounter. And the money from the first section actually still transfers, so I was able to build a whole base of units, to figure out if there is a way of killing her without getting my hands dirty. But unfortunately, there isn't one. Aww. She is a heroic unit, so I can't mind control her either. So the only thing I could do here was take her out. First I wanted to nuke her, which would have been so freaking funny. But the nuke is disabled in this section for whatever reason, so I had to find the next best thing. A Yamato cannon. So I blew the poor woman, whoever she was, to Kingdom Come. And that was it. The entire level done with 1 kill, and the entire campaign done with 3 unit kills. So, is it possible to beat Nova Covert Ops as a pacifist? It sure is, and 90% of it is doable on normal difficulty. This challenge was a real nightmare to do. So if you want to support me by treating my pacifist PTSD, please leave a like and comment, I read all of them. If you want to see me suffer some more, check out my channel or subscribe to stay tuned for any of my future videos of suffering. Thank you for watching, and I guess I'll see you in the next challenge.